All right. We'll call the finance meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need a motion to adopt the agenda, and we're going to move item 6 down to below item 12E. Okay. Moved by Saugers, supported by Duge. Please vote on your iPads.
We just voted you president of the new committee. Hello?
Nobody's. All right, do you want me to just...
Yes, voice vote. We're just yes.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve the minutes dated June 21st, 2017. Moved by Romano, supported by Duge. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Public participation. Does anybody wish to be heard regarding agenda items? Does anyone wish to be heard? Seeing none, we'll close the first. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello.
Hi. I'm assuming since it's on the agenda that I can speak at this.
Yes.
All these people that were late caused this to happen. You know? Maybe now we should explain. Not now, but now we should explain what item 6 was that we.
She knows.
No, I know, now we should have.
It's interesting that she knows, though.
She might have read it. Because if you read it,
Is it in there?
anyone else? But I'm sure they know Kitch.
My name is Connie Miller, and I live in Harrison Township. Remember those unsigned key facts, you have them here, written by your attorneys and discussed at the last meeting? One says this lawsuit has prevented the county from shopping the healthcare markets to save money. That's not true. This case began in 2010. The RFP you have shows that the bids were due September 17, 2012, 2.5 years after the case began. The county shopped for better pricing while this case was ongoing, and the insurance changed in January 2013. Contrary to what you were told and led to believe, contrary to what these key facts state, this lawsuit did not prevent the county from price shopping. And the proof is right there in your hands. Why did your attorneys say the opposite? Well, they've made a lot of contradictory statements. The entire RFP process went on behind our backs during our good faith settlement negotiations with the county. There's another key fact that is duplicitous. It mentions interpreting the Court of Appeals ruling as allowing for reduction or elimination of benefits for certain retirees. It says the county wants clarification to protect them. Don't play us for idiots. They want clarification because the Court of Appeals already refused them. That court believed its order was very clear. If your attorneys really want to protect certain retirees, I have a very simple solution. They can do so with a sincere effort at settlement and insert language into the agreement that addresses those concerns. 26 commissioners with considerable power sat here in 2010. Today there's 13, and you admit that you don't have much power. Your hands are tied. You can't demand a settlement. But if you believe this case should end, that there should be an attempt at settlement, I think you have the power to enact a resolution to that effect. A resolution that says this board considers the time and tax money wasted on this case could be better spent on more important county issues. It's easy to say you can't do anything and be let off the hook. But I challenge this board to stand up and ask the executive to have his attorneys end this insanity. If he's the only one with any power in this county, then why do we even have a Board of Commissioners? We realized at the last meeting that we've been played. The executive has stayed in the background, telling us in the media that promises made will be promises kept. And yes, we know all about the bonds. He wants us to believe he's on our side. Maybe he is, but actions speak louder than words, and his tacit approval to continue this case makes it appear that he's against us. The attorneys have likely convinced him they will eventually win, if by no other means than the death of all the class members. He has obviously bought into that version of events. But what if they lose again, like they did in the Court of Appeals? What are the ramifications to that scenario? Please stop the clock. I'm sorry, if I'm interrupting you, let me know and I'll continue.
No, we were having technical difficulties. It's the staff working on the computers. The commissioners aren't walking around.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Attorneys must keep their clients informed regarding important aspects of a case and seek approval to proceed. They also want to make sure they get paid. The executive should have been, and likely was, consulted about the case the entire time he's been in office. He should have had to, and likely did, approve every major strategical step. He says he lets the attorneys handle these cases, washes his hands of it all like Pontius Pilate. Did he really give them carte blanche, leaving us with a rogue law firm in charge? I doubt it. I think our executive likes more control than that. We've been played, and so has this entire board. You hold open meetings with public participation. The executive does not. He's insulated himself from all the anger, safe in his office. He foisted the job of listening to our complaints onto you, the ones with no power, except maybe to pass a resolution. In conclusion, I'll quote one key sentence from your attorney's Michigan Supreme Court appeal application, and that's on this page too, the last page. The county seeks only to preserve the flexibility to shop the commercial health care markets to get the most competitive rates available while maintaining the same level of benefits for the retirees. It took 95 pages to say it, but they love to drag things out. If it's true that the only thing they seek is that flexibility, then I ask you, why are we still in court, and why hasn't this settled? I already proved to you that this lawsuit did not prevent the county from shopping for better pricing in 2012. We don't have a problem with that. As long as our benefits are not reduced or diminished, and we are consulted with and consent to any future changes, they can shop away. Maybe, just maybe, we're still in court because your attorneys haven't bothered to contact ours.
You have 15 seconds.
If they try, they might discover that we're all on the same page. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is over. Okay, we will move on to presentation from our treasurer's office, and we'll have the deputy treasurer, Mr. Bionda.
Hello, everyone. For the record, Joe Biondo, Chief Deputy to Macomb County Treasurer Lawrence Rocca. I'd like to begin by thanking the Finance Committee for the opportunity to come before you and to give an update on some of the things we've been working on in the Treasurer's Office. I know the last time I appeared before you was during the public comments section, I believe a few weeks or maybe a month or so ago. Some of the commissioners appear to have additional questions. So I'll give a brief overview on where we're at in the foreclosure process, and then pretty much open it up for questions if that's all right. Our most recent up-to-date number of foreclosed properties for this year is 238 properties. That's down 24% compared to last year. Technically, it's 23.96%, but we took the liberty to round that up to 24%. I think one of the questions that wanted to be asked was how many of these foreclosed properties this year, how many of those are homeowner occupied or surrendered properties? That number for this year is 7. Compared to the number last year, which was 18. So you see it's dropped more than half. And again, the treasurer has the discretion to work out arrangements with these people, and we have attempted to do so. With respect to the 7 homeowner occupied or surrendered homes, just for example, I'll give you a breakdown on the 7. 1 is in the city of St. Clair Shores, 6 are in South Warren. And the primary reason these appear to be heading towards the foreclosure is, quite frankly, disengagement by the taxpayer. Quite a few haven't paid in over a year and a half. Some of them haven't paid in years. On 2 of the properties, the water has been shut off by the city, but because we can't rule out the possibility of someone living there, we don't remove them from that list. We'd rather take the chance and say this house is homeowner occupied, even though there might not be a homeowner living in there, just so that we have the best numbers available. So that's where we're at in the numbers. 238 this year, down 24% basically from last year. Out of that 238 number, only 7 are homeowner occupied or surrendered homes, and that compares to the 18 from the previous year. We have been in contact with the local units. They get the first right of refusal on these properties. The Village of Armada, City of East Point has exercised that right and will be purchasing the properties. In fact, they've already paid us. City of Centerline and Clinton Township have voted to purchase the properties in their communities that have been foreclosed on, but we have not received payment yet, but I'm sure they're good for it. The City of Warren, this is always an interesting one. Each year, the highest number of foreclosed properties in the county are from Warren. This year, that number is 180 in Warren. My expectation is that the city will buy all 180 properties, but they have not voted on that yet, and we're patiently awaiting for that process to play out. But I believe the expectation is that they will buy them, which is interesting because when we start with 238 properties and with Warren potentially buying 180, our expectation in the Treasurer's Office is that we're going to sell the remaining properties at the bulk auction at Freedom Hill that will be running on August 15th. And we actually had a gentleman come in yesterday who made a $35,000 deposit to register as a bulk bidder. So again, the expectation is we'll sell the rest of the properties at that bulk auction date. So the number, the 238, that's a little different from the number I reported to you a month ago. Just as an example, one of the properties, we weren't able to work out a deal until, quite frankly, at the very last minute. We were contacted by a family friend of the homeowner. They came in the same day that Clinton Township was voting to purchase the properties, so we had to resolve it one way or the other. Long story short, I brought it to the attention of Treasurer Rocca. He asked that the family friend that wanted to pay off the taxes come in along with the homeowner. That's what happened. Unfortunately, they couldn't get to the office till 4:30, which is when we closed, but we took the initiative and kept the office running till 5 o'clock. Really, we just held on to a couple staffers that we needed to process the payment and update the foreclosure list. And it was great. We had volunteers step up and do that. I didn't have to order anyone to do that. So that's just one example of why the number of foreclosed properties, especially the homeowner-occupied ones, have been going down since we filed the foreclosure judgment. We're constantly reaching out to these people. We're sending our tax collectors out to do site visits to try to get in contact with them in an attempt to save the property. Unfortunately, a handful every year appear to be unwilling for whatever reason to save the property. And that's pretty much just a recap of what I presented to the board on Board Sync with the statement from the treasurer, and I just want to open it up to any follow-up questions anyone might have.
Okay. Commissioner Tocco.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Biondo. When the owner-occupied houses go to foreclosure sale, does the owner still have a redemption period after that where they can pay the taxes?
So the way it works is we offer basically extensions of redemption. And what happens is when we have our show cause hearing towards the beginning of the year, January, we work down payment plans. And as long as they are complying with the payment plans, we will offer them the extensions of redemption. If for whatever reason people don't follow through on the payment plans, we try to communicate them, have them come in to do a follow-up meeting, maybe revisit the payment plan if something happened since the last time we set up the payment plan, maybe their income situation has changed. So we're constantly looking at that and trying to get in contact with people who are not complying. Just to kind of give you a brief overview of what we did, we basically sorted this out as people who complied fully, people who substantially complied, and we still allowed them to get the extension of redemption, people who have not complied, and people who have maybe made one payment on a multi-month payment plan. Those are the people we spend extra time reaching out to try to get in and follow up on the original payment plan. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Biondo, you gave me a total of 238, 180 that Warren looks to redeem, which leaves us 58 left. Of that 58, are you saying 7 of those are homeowner occupied or close to? That would leave us 51. Of those 51, could you break down Armada, East Point, Centerline, Clinton Township, and Warren or Sterling Heights if there's anything in there?
To clarify, I guess the earlier said that the number of homeowner occupied or surrendered homes, that 7 is out of the full list of the 238. As far as a breakdown for what the communities, what they're purchasing, other than Warren, the 180, which obviously is the lion's share of this, I would have to look up those numbers or direct you to our website, which anyone can go to and look up themselves, but I'd be happy to follow up with you on those numbers.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, but those homes wouldn't necessarily be from just where he listed, correct?
The 7 homeowner occupied are part of the 238, so they could be, well, I can tell you right now, one is...
No,
in-
the 50, the ones that are left to sell for bulk sale.
Yes, the ones that are left are basically the 238 minus all the local units taking whatever properties they want. I mentioned the 4, and we're waiting on the city of Warren.
So if there's a local unit that isn't participating, homes in their area would be part of that 50.
Correct. It would be part of the bulk auction, and that's ideally where we would sell off the properties. And if we failed to find a bulk bidder that was willing to purchase everything, we have a backup auction date in September where we will auction off the properties individually.
Okay, and with respect to the bulk auctioning off, it was a sore point with me when I was on council that we purchased properties and the intent was to specifically not do that. So that some guy in California didn't buy all the homes and turn them all into rentals. Now some homes are flipped, but isn't there, number one, isn't it a much larger chance that we're turning homes that were homeowner homes in communities into rental homes in those areas? Number two, we don't know when somebody buys in bulk that we're actually doing better than if we sell the houses off individually. And number three, we're only allowing for very wealthy individuals to get an opportunity to get into some of these homes as opposed to actual residents in Macomb County. If you're buying in bulk, it's absolutely true.
What are they doing?
So,
They're not moving in the same
well,
house at
I
the
have
same
the floor.
time.
Excuse me, I have the floor right now. I'll let you know when you have the floor.
I'm just telling you. They're selling
I'm
out.
talking to him. I'm not talking to you, so please.
Put your name on that.
Thank you.
Put your name on the list.
Okay, so would you please
Yeah,
respond?
I'd like to respond to that because one of the conversations we had with our staff is what's been the past practices with the auctions. We want to know from the staff's perspective what makes sense for the county. When we went into the treasurer's office, Treasurer Rocca said, you know, our focus is to help people keep people in their homes, but also to see what we can do to improve the treasurer's office. So the concerns you're raising are concerns that we basically discussed with our staff. So in response, I'll just say a couple things. The bulk auction, the purpose of it, the thinking, the reason that goes behind doing a bulk auction is, as the county treasurer, we have a responsibility to collect the full amount of the tax lien on these properties. So the question becomes, you know, do we allow a situation where we do the individual auctions, we get great local interest from certain groups on the best picked
On the good
properties,
homes,
and then the remaining properties we're stuck with, and that leads to a direct loss to the local units because, as I indicated in my last presentation on what we do in the treasurer's office, the county, as the tax collector in this situation, is always held harmless. Basically, quite frankly, it costs local communities money whenever we don't collect the full amount of the tax lien. It just makes logical sense. So looking from that perspective, looking at what our obligation is, which is to basically collect the full amount of the taxes for the local units, we felt that the logic in place to first do a bulk auction to see if there was any interest in that makes a lot of sense, because that way you don't allow people to cherry pick the properties. Every year, they've been able to sell off the properties either through the bulk auction or the private auction. So it's not really the case that every year, you know, we have rich people from out of state coming in and taking all the properties. I believe in the last 5-year period that 2 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 5 years it went to individual bids, that it did not go to the bulk auction. It wasn't sold at the bulk auction. So that was the thinking that we kind of went through. And because, again, our primary obligation is to make sure that the local units are, quite frankly, made whole for those tax liens, we felt that that bulk auction was almost like an insurance plan to make sure best chance to sell off all the properties and not just the good properties in that foreclosed
And
list.
I absolutely understand you could have vacant lots and you can have lots where the house just is barely standing. So I understand both sides of the situation. It's just something to consider. I'm certainly not going to tell you how I think things should, tell you what to do. It's something to consider that, especially when it's somebody from out of state, what happens to the properties is, number one, they're less likely to maintain them and they're very hard to get a hold of. But number two, instead of having stable rentals, you end up with rentals where people are moving in and out every 6 months, and it creates a huge turnover in the community. So I don't know that there's an answer to fit both situations, and I don't know which one is better. I just wanted to put it on your radar.
No, I appreciate that. And if I can just briefly respond, I would say this. The concerns you're raising, I think, are legitimate concerns. And what we felt was, by doing the bulk auction, but also the second part of it, working with the local units to basically express to them, if you can, you should seriously consider purchasing the properties. And that way you can exercise the control over how those properties are handled so that you can avoid all the issues you raised. That's really, I think, the two-pronged approach that is the best approach based on what our staff was telling us and our thinking on it. So, we were cognizant of those concerns, and we think the bulk auction, combined with the fact that the local units have the first right of refusal to purchase the properties, like I said, the city of Warren will be purchasing 180 of those properties, and they'll be exercising control over how those properties are developed. And really, that, to me, is probably the best arrangement. Now, obviously, we have certain local units who don't have the money to do that, but because we're trying to do what's best for everyone in the county, maybe that's something we have to look at every year.
You're
and we
actually
certainly will.
right. That is a pretty good answer to it if those
you.
communities aren't trying to dump them quickly. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick follow-up on Chair Kleinfeld's comments. How much flexibility does a county treasurer's office have in determining how to dispose of these properties, whether they go to a bulk auction or offer first right of refusal, and how much that might be set by state law?
Sure. Just briefly speaking, as far as the first rights of refusal, that's set by state law. So the state of Michigan gets the first crack at it. Then it goes to the local units, and then if they pass on it, it's up to the county treasurer as to the format and procedures with the auction process. And, our sense of it, after talking to staff and getting their input, was it seemed to be the consensus there that the primary obligation, the legal obligation, is obviously to collect the full amount of the taxes owed on the properties, to deliver that to the local units, and the best way to do that is to do the bulk auction, and that would address most of the concerns, but also stressing to the locals that they should really step up and purchase the properties if they are, if they have serious concerns about who's ending up with the properties. And just so you know, anybody who bids on the properties, as far as the bulk auction bidders, part of the rules are that if those properties, basically, if they are not a good faith player, if they basically purchase the properties in a bulk auction and then we notice that they let a lot of those properties go back to tax foreclosure, the county treasurer has the discretion to essentially blacklist that person from ever participating in the auctions. And that's certainly something that we would do if, an out-of-state investor came in and abused the process.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Okay, I don't see any other speakers right now. Is there a motion to receive and file? Moved by Commissioner Myjack, support by Commissioner Lucido. Any other questions? Okay, I think we can vote on our iPads now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, the motion passes 11-0. Department recommendations, and we have our Director of Roads, Mr. Santo, here, and we also have Mary Bednar, and I'm not going to get the title correct.
Department of almost everything.
Department of Public Services. here to answer if there are any questions. So, so the first one is 8A, cost share agreement, Clinton Township, Little Mack resurfacing. Is motion by Carabelli, supported by Chair Smith. Any questions? Okay, please vote on your iPad. Okay, the motion passes.
Commissioner Majek still.
Oh, it showed up.
No, that's showing the treasurer's report.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. The motion passes 12-0. The next item we have is the 8B cost share agreement, Macomb Township contract, Boddy Construction, Santa Ana and Santa Barbara Streets project. Motion by Commissioner Gillette, support by Commissioner Lucido. Any questions? Commissioner Carabelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, does this coincide with the water main replacement?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. To answer your question, Commissioner Carabelli, yes, this is in combination. It's a SAD that the township presented to us as far as a need of the residents for Santa Ana and Santa Barbara. We do have a program to participate 50-50 with sub-reconstructs. So we are doing the roadway with the township, I believe, having the water main program also.
Mr. Carabelli, when the residents came to us to do the road, we took the approach of, we don't want to do the road, and then 5 years from now, let's go do the water main. So,
Good
so what
idea.
we're doing is we move that project up on our schedule, so the township will be paying for the water main, or our water and sewer fund will be paying for the water main, and then we're in with the subdivision grant program with the road commission doing 50-50 on the road.
Madam Chairman, I appreciate the information I just received, and I just wish that the rest of government agencies could work and think ahead
Do
like
the
that.
same.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, please vote on your iPad. Motion passes 12-0. Item C, contract Cadillac Asphalt Paving Company Pavement Preservation Program. Is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Sauger, support by Commissioner Duge. Would you like him to speak to it? Yes, please. Okay. Could you please speak to it?
This is a yearly program that we have, basically HMA or hot mix asphalt pavement preservation program. We do it countywide and look at the different townships and spread out the different lane miles as we see fit and as a need. Basically, the engineer's estimate was $3,552,315. Had Cadillac Asphalt come in as the low bidder at $3,519,884.24, about $33,000 underneath the engineer's estimate. It's a very valuable program to our roads program for the community as far as improving the poor condition roads in the community. So if that answers your question.
Okay. I don't see any speakers. Please vote on your iPad. Oh, am I on the wrong? I'm sorry. Commissioner Carabelli.
Madam Chair. Quick question on this. What kind of, I see that the numbers were like, lower. What kind of inspection process to ensure you're getting what you're paying for do you guys anticipate putting in place?
We have full-time inspection staff that oversees the construction work in the field, and we also have our own lab facility, so we run testing on the asphalt and the shoulder material that's placed. So we do keep track of, obviously, the testing of the product that's placed and the placement of the product as it's being placed. So,
Okay. So during the actual work, somebody's there?
yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other speakers. Are there any other speakers? Okay, please vote on your iPad. And my guess is you're probably not going to have to move this. This other one's going to go very quickly, and then we'll be back to you again.
Yes.
So,
Thank you,
did
Commissioner.
that pop up? Motion passed. Okay, next item, Health and Human Services Committee recommendations, and there's only one, budget amendment, Health Department fiscal grant. Motion by Commissioner Duje, support. Support by Commissioner Leonetti. Questions? Okay, please vote on your iPad. Motion passes 12-0. Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee recommendations. Do we want to take these in their entirety? Motion by Duje to take them in their entirety. Support by Commissioner Kraft. Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Lucido.
People asking me about the traffic signal outside of Berkery when that will be going in.
Your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you hear me? The traffic light outside of Partridge Creek and Romeo Plank. Do you
Yes.
have any idea when that will be? I've just had several people asking me.
I can definitely get, as far as a start time, when we anticipate that, I can get that back to you.
Okay.
I don't have an official start date yet,
Okay.
but I can definitely get that.
I just know that's a big concern, especially with when the high school starts.
Correct.
The in and out is tough. Okay,
Yes, I can
thank
definitely
you.
get that for you.
Thank you. Seeing no. Sorry, motion passes 12-0. Justice and Public Safety Committee recommendations, we'll take them in their entirety. Moved by Commissioner Gillette, support by Commissioner Sauger. Any questions? Please vote on your iPad. Motion passes 12-0. Government Operations Committee recommendations, move in their entirety. Moved by Commissioner Romano, support. Support by Commissioner Kraft. Any questions? Please vote on your iPad. Motion passes 12-0. Update on pending litigation, Karen Berkeley and Susan Zitterman from Kitch Law Firm.
To a closed session because litigation is ongoing.
I thought that there was a desire to make a public statement. If there isn't, I'm not sure exactly. We could have a closed session at the end.
I think it would be appropriate. I anticipate questions that would go into privileged or confidential information.
Okay, all right, so, right, but I guess that's where we are now. Okay, so we're gonna add closed session after 15 for update on pending litigation. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any consideration for them giving a presentation before you sit down, John, where they give a presentation, then we can ask questions in closed session? Or do you think that would be inappropriate?
He's not comfortable. It's very clear that he's not comfortable.
I think it would be best to do both in closed session.
Okay. All right.
I don't see us being able to separate confidential from public information.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Okay, so we have correspondence, State Tax Commission assessed valuations. Is there a motion to receive and file? Moved by Commissioner Toko, supported by Commissioner Myjack. Please vote on your iPads. Has it popped out? Oh, here we go. Motion passes 12-0. New business. Is there new business, commissioners? Okay. Okay, Chair Smith.
Thank you. Just wanted to remind everybody that the garage, especially a few of you that park there next week, will be closed most of the week. I think up until Wednesday, Friday to Wednesday. Just, I'm sure you've read it everywhere, but just want to make that, make everybody aware of that. I know I had one more thing and I can't think of it, but we'll bring that up later if I need to, individually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to public participation. Does anyone wish to be heard?
I totally understand that the attorneys the county hired would not want to divulge any kind of strategy about this case. But the case is a public document available for anybody to look at, and I think it's almost borders on cowardice that they're not even willing to stand up and make any comment in public about the case. I think they dislike the fact that there are a lot of retirees in the audience and they don't want to hear it. That's just my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, second hearing of the public is closed. Motion to go into closed session for pending litigation. Moved by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Please vote on your iPads. Okay, motion passes 11-1 with Commissioner Leonetti voting no.
Okay, I'm just getting my stuff ready to throw away.
Supported by Kraft.
Tell us that.
And then everyone votes aye except for Brown, right?
Yes. Yes. No, my jack was gone.
My jack was gone.
Called them again. We had them fix this floor before they could dial it out by computer.
That's why people get tested.
Yeah.